Loving our Muslim neighbor is paramount to everything we do. And when we say neighbor, we're meaning the Muslim communities in all through Europe. Our neighbor can even be our enemy, actually, in some ways. And there are enemies of us. There is a radical ideology in Europe and, of course, in other parts of the world. And Muslims, some Muslims, not all Muslims, some Muslims do hate us. Because if you follow ISIS, you hate anything that goes against that particular view of Islam, which I personally feel it is the closest to the Quran and also to the biography of Muhammad. All you have to do is open up the biography and you see what ISIS is doing is parallel to the life of Muhammad. Muhammad is their example. And so there are some neighbors that are not our friend, and therefore we can't think of building a friendship with them. But we must love them because they're made in the image of God. Every Muslim, whether friend or foe, and we have both in Europe, we have those who want to hurt us and those who want to assimilate into European society and live alongside us. We have both kinds of Muslims in Europe. Both need salvation, both are our neighbors, and both are absolutely lost. And therefore, as the Christian, in loving my neighbor, my ultimate goal is this, to introduce them to Christ. But I don't want my Muslim friend or colleagues or acquaintances or those I see on the streets to be a project. Muslims are not our project. Muslims are individuals made in the image of God, and they are absolutely lost. Some Muslims are the most beautiful people I know. Some of my best friends back in London are Muslims, and they're committed Muslims, Shia and Sunni, the two main factions of Islam. And the way I love them is I show it in many different ways. Some of it is just being a friend. I love sitting for hours with them. You'll notice the henna on my hand. The henna is from a Mendi night, where before someone gets married, they put henna on their hand, and it's just part of their traditions that many of the Muslim cultures do. And that's just sitting with them for hours to 3 in the morning, talking, laughing, doing dancing from their culture, and that's how they live their lives. That's loving. But I am just as loving when I challenge the Muslim and I say that their view of God is wrong. Now, of course, I don't say it that simplistically, but that ultimately is what I'm saying, that they don't have the correct view of God. And my whole goal as a Christian who loves them is to bring them to the correct view of God. And that is only found in Jesus Christ, who died for them and rose again. And we must communicate that with Muslims. So love is a complicated word. There's an easy sort of love where it's friendship, and there's a tough sort of love where I must be willing, I must love them enough, I'm willing to lose the friendship. Because I don't want to love a Muslim so much I never share the faith with them. I heard a student recently that we teach back in London, and she said, I haven't really told my Muslim friend much about the gospel because I'll lose the friendship. And my colleague who she said this to just said, that person's going to hell. And that is not true friendship if you don't share the gospel with them. You might lose the friendship, you rarely do. But if you do, you have to be willing to sacrifice that friendship. Because if you love them enough, you'll introduce them to Christ. That's what we're all about. That's the Great Commission. In loving our Muslim friend, we lead them to the truth. Jesus said, he is the way, the truth, and the life. And that's what we must communicate with Muslims. So love can be tough, love can be easy. Love means we sacrifice friendship sometimes. Usually, love covers a multitude of sins. So even if I'm in a hot debate with Muslims, which I sometimes get into, I've rarely lost a friend. In 17 years, I've lost 2 Muslim friends. But I have hundreds of Muslim friends because, of course, the big, huge extended families and the different cultures that I'm in. And I've always been a Christian. I go into a home, immediately they know I'm a committed Christian. And I never hide my faith. I've never lost a friend to date.